Hello, hello. We are live. And today I'm so excited to be doing this live stream, another live stream with Christopher Wells. And I know he's excited as well. And today, along with Christopher, we're going to talk about 5 obstacles to making a move abroad. And we're going to give you some tips on how to move through those, because this is a real dream killer, these 5 obstacles. And if you can move through these, you can get to the place that you want to be. So we're not going to jump in just yet. I want to see who we've got joining us today. I do see some comments. I see Igami is joining us. And if you can type in the chat where you're joining from, that would be great. I see Brian White is here from Seattle.
Oh my gosh, how early in the morning is that?
That's motivation. That's commitment.
We are with you, Brian.
We got digital marketing who is here and glad to see us. Glad to see you too. Worth every kilometer traveled. Hello from North Carolina. France bound. This is Chris. Hi, Chris. A member of my program, the Carefree Expat Incubator Program, has joined. So, in April from Atlanta. So, yes. So
my city.
That's your city? Do you know April?
Yeah, that's where I moved here from. No, I don't think I do. April, do I know you?
You might.
There are only like 8 million people there. You never know.
Right. All right. Well, so before we jump in, I'd like to introduce ourselves. I'm gonna start. I'm gonna share a little bit about myself in case you are not familiar with me. My name is Patricia Brooks, and I am an American who is living in the south of France and has been for the last 6.5 years. Yes, 6.5 years. And as I say that kind of floors me because not too long ago, I was just dreaming about making a move to France, but wasn't really sure where to start and had some blocks to getting here. But now I'm here and I help people to move through those blocks in my coaching programs. And today, and on my channel, we are going to talk about 5 blocks that keep people stuck and not living their dream, their expat lifestyle. All right. And now I'd like for Christopher, Dr. Christopher Wells, the Clever Expat, right?
So hi, everybody.
To share a little bit about himself.
Well, it all started when I went on an academic residency in Spain, in Madrid of all places. And I had never been to Spain before at that point. And some friends of mine and I, who were also in this residency, were like, well, why don't we also take a look at Barcelona and Valencia? So we took trains around the country. And when I got off the train in Valencia, I fell in love. And I really can't explain what that process was, but something about Valencia made me feel calm, made me feel collected. It just felt like the right place. And 3 years later, I spent 3 years preparing to move here. 3 years later, I moved here for 2 years. So I was here from 2013 to 2015. And then I returned back to the US for work reasons. And frankly, the entire time I was doing that, I wanted to still be back in Valencia. I wanted to be back in Spain. So during that 6 years, we also had the fun times of COVID. And when the vaccine was available to us, we moved back to Spain in 2021. So I've been here in Spain for around 5 years right now, 2 years before, and then 3 years this time. But I run an expat group. It's a meetup group on meetup.com called Future Expats, and it has over 1,400 people. So I think there's some interest. And I also have a website called cleverexpat.com, and that's where I really share resources and ideas with people interested in pursuing an expat lifestyle. So Patricia and I connected in the Future Expats group, but since then we've realized that we're great comrades, and we're so excited to work together whenever we get the chance.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Christopher. Um, Now I kind of want to jump into the topic at hand, 5 blocks. And the first one, I'm going to hand over to Christopher to discuss. Go
Well,
ahead, take it away.
the very first one is this thing called fear of the unknown.
Mhm.
And I'll have to tell you that when I was in the doctoral study process, um, one of the things that was part of my area of study was the human motivational process. And a big part of the human mind and human motivation is kind of revolves around what you know and what you have experienced and what is unknown to you. That's any learning process. However, the fear of the unknown is one of the largest stoppers of anybody doing anything. I don't know what it's going to feel like. I don't know what it's going to taste like. I don't know what it's going to sound like. I don't know how to speak that language. All of those are things that are unknown, and you really don't have any experience. So there are certain things that you can do to overcome fear of the unknown, because truly this is one of the biggest preventers of people following their dreams. The first is something called vicarious learning, and we do this all the time. It's using the experiences of others to prepare yourself for that experience. I do this with like YouTube videos. There are books that I've read, magazine articles that I've read, things that I've done that have helped me prepare, using other people's experience, and that's vicarious learning. The second is something like having a guide. And Patricia and I work very hard to be very good guides, as our people, our team really is trying to explore the idea of being an expat. So we have undergone all of that uncertainty, and we know the best way to navigate through it in many cases. Or we can at least help you think about it in a way that doesn't create another obstacle for you. So having a guide is the second one. And the third one is really being able to focus on your goal repeatedly. And that includes, I mean, the idea of vision boards is so incredibly powerful because it keeps you focused on your goal. But things like knowing what your personal objectives are, watching videos around that particular topic, and that particular location, in this case, that you want to live in, consuming media. I don't know about you, but I have a severe addiction to international house hunters, because I'm just always like, well, what's it like to live there? And so it really has a lot more to do with that. So vicarious learning, having a guide of some sort, and focusing on your goal are those things that are going to make you successful and help you overcome the fear of the unknown.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, that those are really great ones, and the vicarious learning. I'm guilty of that too, but I think we can gain so much insight from other people's experiences.
For sure.
Uh, yeah, go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say is I think a big part of this overcoming fear of the unknown is to really just kind of get comfortable with a learning mindset. And this isn't something you can say, okay, I've got a learning mindset. It's one of those things where it's like, wait a minute, this is something I need to learn about before I get worried about it. I need to learn a little bit more. And that's a big part of the expat journey, is just accepting that learning mindset.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that learning mindset with that. That was difficult for me because I studied French before I moved to France. But when I got to France, I took a French class and I kind of put it off. I was like, I really don't want to be in a classroom because I haven't been in a classroom in a really long time. And that was intimidating for me. And so I had to adopt that learning mindset that, oh, Patricia, this will be fine. It's not like like it was when you were in high school. But it was challenging. It really was.
It really is. I have to agree. And then there's a really close cousin to fear of the unknown, and that's on the other end of too much information, and that's analysis paralysis. Patricia, you want to talk about that?
Yes, analysis paralysis. Have you ever wanted to do something, had this goal, but You were taking in so much information that at the end of the day, you had difficulty making a decision. If you have ever experienced that, type "stop it" in the chat. That's it. Stop it in the chat. I have gotten so much better at overcoming analysis paralysis, but it's not an easy thing to do because oftentimes when we haven't done something before and we have that uncertainty, we will tend to just delve in further, get more information. And then when we get more information, sometimes we we start to go down this rabbit hole of, well, if I do this thing, what if this happens? Or what if that happens? And then that further paralyzes us because we're thinking about all the risks. The what if this happens starts to make it feel even scarier. And so we can't make that decision. We struggle to make that decision and we are paralyzed. So what can you do about that? How can you move through this information overload, this overthinking, and this idea of, well, if I do this, then maybe this really unlikely but very scary thing might happen to me. And so I don't know if it's worth the risk. What can you do to move through that? Well, I'm going to borrow some words from the 1970s sitcom comedian Bob Newhart. Now, if you're not familiar with this, if you are not from my generation, you may need to Google this. Bob Newhart and stop it. All right. What you need to do is just stop it. Right? If you're overthinking, stop it. If you are thinking about what if this happens, stop it. Right? That's it. And you might be saying, Patricia, if I could stop it, I would stop it. Right? You got to give me a little bit more here. All right, I'm going to give you just a little bit more to help you out. One of the things that causes us to be indecisive, to get paralyzed in the information, is that we don't give ourselves a deadline. We're just collecting information, researching and gather and watching YouTube videos and all of that vicarious learning, right? And we don't set a deadline. And so that we have this unlimited amount of time to gather this information, and that causes this analysis paralysis. So my first tip to you is to set a deadline, set a date for when you need to make a decision on this part of your plan. Because if you don't make a decision, then you can't act on that decision and get further along in your plan. Okay. So set a deadline for the decision that needs to be made so you can move forward. The second thing that I recommend is to find an accountability partner so that you tell that accountability partner that you have this decision that you're going to make and that you are going to make it by a certain date, and have them hold you accountable to that so that your time limit is not indefinite and that you get off the fence and make a decision one way or the other. Right? So that's one tip here. Now, for when you go down the path of what if, that what if thinking, that makes you think about this thing that could happen that wouldn't really be that good or that pleasant to you, I would say if you're toying with that and that's keeping you stuck, then do the worst case scenario activity, which is, all right, say, for example, you have not moved your plans forward to move to France because, well, you are concerned that you won't get a bank account here. Because I hear this all the time. Is it hard to get a bank account here? I'm afraid I won't get a bank account. And so take that to the worst case scenario. You may move to France. You move to France, you get here, and you struggle to get a bank account. Right? You're here for a year and you've talked to people, you've got friends here now, you've asked them for help. And after all of that time, you still can't get a bank account. That would be worst case scenario, and all the things that you struggle to do without having a bank account. So with this worst case scenario, take yourself down that path and then say to yourself, well, if that were to happen, and I had to say, maybe come back to where I'm living now, would that be worth the risk? Right. And if it's not worth the risk, that helps you to make a decision, and that helps you to move through that scenario. But I want to share with you, a lot of times we have this what if thinking, what if this happens, or what if that happens? And these are all figments of our imagination. Most of the time, the things that we worry about happening don't happen to us. But if it can help you to get to a place where you can say, okay, well, if this were to happen, that would be something that would be completely unacceptable to me. So I can't move forward. You have made a decision. You have moved forward. So those are 2 tips to help you to move through that analysis paralysis, make a decision so you can take action on that decision, make another decision, take action on that decision so that you get to your dream country and the expat lifestyle you are dreaming about right now. All right. So those are my 2 tips on analysis paralysis.
Well, I've got to say, I just watched a lecture. There are free lectures all the time in Valencia. Just as a plug, there was a lecture, and this was in Spanish, which I was pretty proud that I was able to go to and understand. But the thing that the psychologist was talking about was reframing, dynamically reframing when you are in these situations. So, in order to stop that overthinking, when you recognize that you're doing it, what this psychologist recommended was to say out loud, "Stop it,"
Yeah.
and then reframe yourself by putting on music that you like,
Oh.
that just completely change your mood, something that lifts you up, something that helps
Mhm.
you have a more positive outlook, and that allows you to stop that situation within a moment and actually be in control of that spiraling again. And I think that is a fantastic method. I've used it myself. It's really kind of weird when I'm sitting here in a room alone and I'm like, stop it, but it works. It works.
I
It
love
really
that. I
does.
love that. And putting on that music, because that, we're all taught the things that we're talking about is all meant this mental shifting, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
And I think that go ahead.
no, no, no.
Well, I think that there are so many what if situations, and D. Cole, you said what ifs are like what ifs, which it should be profane. Have to agree with you. And we just recently went through our visa renewal process, and things weren't going the way they should have, and it was taking forever for the government to get back to us, and so we were having very strong what if conversations, and we were identifying, well, what if we don't get our visa renewed? What are we going to do then? And eventually our visa got renewed, so this was perhaps a fool's errand to even think about it. But the idea is that, okay, we thought about the worst case scenario, and that wasn't so bad, so I can live through that. I can live through a lot. And
Mhm,
we had a plan. We knew what we were doing. Would it be easy or fun? No, but we would live through it, and we would still be better at the end of it.
mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Um, so the next block that is up for discussion is mental models being too fixed or rigid. Now, Christopher, what does that mean?
Well, it means that if you have a mental model that's too rigid, it means that you are not allowing yourself flexibility that is uniquely yours. And by that, I mean, there are so many future expats or potential expats, they're frozen where they are because they can't imagine themselves truly living full time in another country or away from their current environment. Well, when will I see my kids? When will I see my family members? When will I have time with family and friends? That, what do I do with my house? How do I deal with my car? All of those things, right? So it's adjacent to the analysis paralysis, but um, I've been working with some people who originally thought they weren't cut out to be expats, because they thought being an expat was you have to live full time in another country. They had medical needs, they had family needs, they had friends, they had properties they didn't want to abandon. Um, they didn't want to become an expat because they felt those things were holding them back or holding them from making that leap to becoming an expat. So what we had to do is we had to revise their mental model. Their mental model was you have to be an expat full time. It's all or nothing. And then we said, okay, well, if it's all or nothing, that really isn't the way that everybody operates. I really suggest you want a strategy that's going to work for you. So, what are some other expat lifestyles? One is part time. You've determined a location or locations that you want to spend part of the year in. And that part of the year could be a month, it could be 6 months, it could be longer or less than that, whatever. But you determined a place where you want to be that is an expat location, and that that's okay. We have friends who are expats and they're here for 6 months and then they're in the States for the other 6 months. That works for them. I have other friends who are here for 3 months and then the remaining 9 months they're in other countries or they're back in the US. So you're in control of that in that part-time strategy. Another is this concept of slow travel, and you may be familiar with this already, but slow travel is like setting a destination and then learning everything about that destination that you can. And common time limit is 3 months. And really, that's because the US has agreements in place. You may have heard of a Schengen visa or something like that. The US has agreements in place, and there's a visa in your passport for that particular country. You can stay there for 3 months without any additional paperwork. I have some friends who have a website called 491days.com, and they do this. They do this slow travel, and they get to know an area and they get to know it intimately in that 3 months, and then they move on to another place. Um, and then, of course, there's full time. So Patricia and I are full time expats. We've committed to moving to a new place and making it our home. And it could be. That it's our home for the rest of our lives. I plan on retiring here in Spain, frankly. But you're probably going to have to do paperwork and you're probably going to have to register as a resident. And you know that going in. So really think that through. You're in control of that. So really, what does that mean for you as a potential expat? If you're staying for a destination a day, a week, a month, you get to choose your plan. You get to decide how long or the script of your expat experience. So don't be afraid when people say the word expat, thinking completely moving for the rest of my life. I'm going to be living there because that's not really what it is. The expat perspective is more of an adventure perspective. There isn't only one way to be an expat, and only you can decide how you want to be happy by traveling abroad and living abroad. So that's the next thing. But there's also another obstacle that's more of a lack of belief that it's possible for you. Patricia, you want to address that one?
Yeah. So as you talk about these mental models, and thinking about, expat meaning one thing, moving for the rest of your life, and that's not something that you want, that can definitely cause you to say, well, I'm not doing that thing, even though I want some version of that thing. But lack of belief is something, lack of belief that moving abroad, living that expat lifestyle, whatever that means to you, is possible and possible for you, can create this inertia that keeps you stuck, right? You have have you ever, I'm going to ask the question, have you ever wanted to do something but thought, well, I've never done this before, who am I to do this? and really just didn't believe in your heart that you could do it. And so you kind of put it aside, stepped away from it. And now years later, you look back at that and you think, I wonder what would have been if I had only believed in myself more. If you've ever had that experience, type anchor in the comments. Type anchor in the comments. Now, I have had this experience. When I moved to France, I moved on a visitor visa. I was not working. I had taken a sabbatical. At the end of my first year, I thought about starting a business here, and I even started a business plan, but I didn't go through with it. I just reapplied for a visitor visa because I didn't believe that I could create a business that would sustain myself here in France and that the French government would approve of. And so I didn't. And for the next, year and a half after that, I was living off of my savings, which is not what I wanted to do, but I didn't have that belief in myself. And I had never created a business that could sustain me. So why would I believe that it was possible for me to do in a foreign country, right? This is a big deal. And so I delayed. And the following year, I applied for another visitor visa. And then half a year after that, so 2.5 years into my life here, I decided I can't live off of my savings for the rest of my life. I've got to make this move. And I moved through that. But how was I able to do that? One strategy that works wonders for me is what I call a confidence anchor, right? It is something that I have done in my life that I didn't believe was possible at the time. But now I look back and look at that accomplishment and say, yeah, I did that. And I didn't believe that I could do that. And so this strategy, if you have a piece of paper and a pen, you sit down and write down the things that you are proud that you have accomplished in spite of the idea that you didn't think that you could do it. And then you pick one of them or maybe two of them that will be your confidence anchor, that in times of doubt and disbelief that something is possible for you, take that confidence anchor out and look at it, read it aloud, remember that accomplishment and how good that felt. And then take a small step in that direction of that goal, right? And by doing this over and over again, it's about taking those small steps that lead to big accomplishments. And so in doing that, you start to shift your self-identity and you start to become the kind of person, you see yourself as the kind of person who does this thing that had been out of the realm of possibility in the beginning. And you start to believe in yourself and you start moving faster, moving forward faster. And until you get to that place that you want to be. So confidence anchor is something that I highly recommend that you do if you are in a place where you lack that belief that moving abroad or having that expat lifestyle is possible for you. Figure out your confidence anchors and use them. All right. So lack of belief in yourself is something that causes a lot of people to not realize their dreams. But there's another one that is really, really closely related to that self-doubt and that lack of belief. And I'm going to let Christopher tell you what it is.
It's being overwhelmed. The the feeling of overwhelm that people have, even when you're like planning a big trip or planning anything major, all of these come down to having a sense of overwhelm attached to this. And I cannot uh, I cannot recommend enough the idea of confidence anchors. I've used those before in my past, and what ends up happening is your brain actually changes to remember those things much more frequently. So you do have to do a little reflection, but you have to be proud. It's like giving yourself a pat on the back resume, making that resume, and then looking at those things and saying, you know what, I did do that, and I even though I may have felt overwhelmed at that point, I now know what I can do about it. And so I really recommend that strategy quite a bit. Um, so what I'd like to do is just as a quick review, I think it's important that you realize that one or more of these topics may be overwhelming you right now. And that's because you don't have enough information. You maybe are in analysis paralysis. It could be that you have this mindset that needs to change about becoming an expat and what you want out of that dream and goal in your life. And it could be that you don't feel like it's worth it, that something that you can do. So the question for you is, which one of those is your biggest obstacle right now? Is it fear of the unknown? Is it analysis paralysis? Is it the mental models that you have? Is it your lack of belief that it's possible for you? Or maybe it's something else entirely. Let us know what you feel, because I think that all of us have some of these in um, some parts of our lives. Um, Dion Marie, you said, what are the do's and don'ts of a confidence anchor? Patricia, you want to answer that, or do you want me to tackle it?
Dion, I'm not necessarily sure I'm understanding the question. What are the do's and don'ts of a confidence anchor? Um, okay, I'll give you some do's. I'm not sure if there are any don'ts, but a do is to sit down with a blank sheet of paper and list out your accomplishments, right? And sometimes that is hard to kind of think about things that you have done in the past that you didn't think you could do. That can be a challenging thing to do, but sit down and write out as many as you can. And then once you have a few, you can look at those and see which one stands out to you, which accomplishment or accomplishments. You don't want too many. You want one or two that you can kind of go that can be your go-to confidence anchors. And then you pick them, you circle them, and you commit to using those. Maybe you write them on a piece of paper, and you can pull out that piece of paper when you start to have doubts, when you're starting to do something big that scares you. Remind yourself of what you've accomplished. Another do of that is to, as you select the one or two that you want to highlight, list out the things that you did that made it possible for you to make that achievement, right? Because a lot of times it's just doing something that scares you anyway. And if you have a record of doing that in the past, then you can do it again, right? It's not something that somebody else did. It's something that you did. So I think those are a couple of the do's for that. And as for don'ts, I'm not really sure that I have any, unless you have some. If there was something in mind that you were thinking that might be a problem for you in doing the activity. So Dion, if there is a don't that you think that maybe you shouldn't do or that might hurt you in using or creating a confidence anchor, let me know and we can address that. All right. Hopefully that helped, Dion. All right.
Thank you for sharing that. And Jada, you said fear of the unknown. You wonder what your day will look like. I do too, strangely enough. Every day is a new adventure in many ways. But part of I, I'm sorry, I'm a scientist. I research a lot. One of the most interesting pieces of research that I just read had to do with how long should a vacation be? And the answer to that, over and over again, ended up being 8 days. And that's because every day was a completely new routine. But after the eighth day or so, people started developing rhythm, and then things start to become more mundane or routine. And I'll tell you, when I lived here before, um, I had to pick and choose what my day was going to look like. Yes, I had some work that I had to do, but I didn't have a plan. I had things like go to the grocery store, or explore this area of the city, or figure out how to get a metro ticket. I mean, all of those things, you really build your own structure. And what I would suggest is that it will be your current kind of day, only it's going to feel, especially for the first couple of years, like everything is brand new. It will feel like you are wide awake and aware of everything. And being afraid of the unknown in that situation, that's where the adventure lies. If you're going to a place that's safe and that's comfortable and you have everything you need, then it really comes down to just enjoying what you have and trying to figure out what that adventure is going to be on a daily basis. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and I want to tack on to that. So the fear of the unknown. I'm in the process of writing my third book, and there's a part in the book. It's about, why did I have to get to France? Right at 51, all of a sudden, I had to live in France when I hadn't thought about France much before that. Right, and in it, I talk about this part where when I moved, everything was fresh and new and exciting. It was like I was seeing things through the eyes of a child. Every day was unknown, and I was excited. It wasn't a threat. It was exciting because, oh, here I had this ability to absorb and see things and experience things like I'd never experienced them. It's exactly, what you were referencing, Christopher. So yeah.
And the language is part of it too. If you go to a place that doesn't speak English, and frankly, even if it does speak English, you're not prepared. And there's no way that you can prepare yourself except through experience. I'll give you just a really short example. Going to the grocery store here, when I lived here before, the checkout person always asked, "Do you have correct change?" And I I don't care what class you've taken, no class is going to prepare you to answer that question, do you have correct change? Because it was part of the culture then. I don't I remember just that moment of sheer panic thinking, what is it she's asking me? The lady understood I was panicking and it basically took my money, gave me change. We were fine. But, it's just little micro interactions like that that you start to get used to and you start to accommodate within your daily behaviors. So you change and
Yeah.
grow. And at the end of the day, while it may be exhausting, you feel like you've accomplished something just by being part of a new culture and starting to make inroads in that direction.
Yeah, great, great. And I see Dion has said about the phrasing of to avoid self-sabotage. It's a positive activity. You've achieved something, give yourself the credit for it. Don't look at any setbacks that you had with the confidence anchor. Just look at that you did it, right? Even though you didn't think you did.
Absolutely. Let's see, Danielle, you ask about traveling with neurodivergent children, and it's difficult here, and my fear is failure abroad. Okay, so that's a very real fear, and the idea for working with neurodivergent children is that you're providing them with an environment that suits their own needs. So, if you have a kid who struggles with sensitivity to loud noises, I'm going to tell you that Valencia is not the place for you because there are fireworks all the time. This region of Spain is fireworks happy, and so there are a lot of startling noises that you get to the point where, oh, they're setting off fireworks over there again. But there are lots of places that are much calmer and more quiet. There are also places where you can get services for neurodivergent children that are different than the services that are offered in the United States. And of course, you're going to research that before you move abroad. But the even the concept of failure abroad is an artificial construct that we create, and it could be an adventure for 6 months, and then we decided to move here, or then we decided to do this. It's okay. It's actually worse if you consider it a failure as opposed to this was an experience,
Yeah.
because those two things can exist, but one of them brings you down and the other one is just an affirmation that you are living a life that is what you wanted it to be.
Yeah. Great point, Christopher. Great point.
And let's see, worth every kilometer traveled. You mean every mile? No, kilometer. Um, the 30-day rule. So yes, these kinds of things, having benefits, and having proof and things like that, um, they are things that are 12 to 14 years away, and that you can manage your you can you can manage your interactions with things like Social Security Administration, or your benefits. You None of those things happen quickly. Like, it's never a surprise. So you can figure those things out as you wish to, and it could be that you do something that is a dual residency. Basically, you spend enough time in one country to get your benefits, but then you also spend enough time in another country to feel like you're living your dream. So yeah, I think that is a great example.
Well,
Yeah.
I need to hide this. All right. So I think this is a great discussion. Um, what else do you have for us, Christopher?
Well, I'm super thrilled because today we are announcing something that Patricia and I are absolutely busting at the seams about. And it is a workshop that we are holding here in Valencia, which, if I haven't sold you on Valencia yet, let me tell you, it is a fantastic place. It's a walkable city. The weather is great 8 months out of the year. You have lots and lots of sunlight and lots to do. But what we're doing is we're holding a workshop called From Vision to Victory: The Essentials to Become a Happy and Healthy Expat. And it's going to be on October 13th in Valencia this year. So, Patricia, tell me more about it.
Yeah. So this event just came to me a couple of months ago when because my program, the Carefree Expat Incubator Program, has an event, an in-person event every year. The first one was last year. We were in Marseille. It was wonderful. I posted something about that on social media, and people were like, "Oh, I want to come. I want to come." And unfortunately, it's an exclusive event. Well, this year the event is in Valencia, Spain. And I thought, you know what? Why not have a day that is a public event that can help people, aspiring expats, to create strategies and move through blocks and meet with like minded people so that they can really move forward with their dream of living abroad. And so I reached out to Christopher because, well, he's in Valencia and it's going to happen in Valencia, and asked him if he wanted to be a part of this. He wanted to do a workshop with me. And so we've been working on this over the last month and a half. And we are so excited to share this with you. And Christopher is going to give you a little bit more about what's going to happen, what some of the details of the workshop.
Well, I think it's important to remember that when we were developing this workshop, we were talking about transformation. How can we help people make that transformation in mindset and in preparedness to become an expat? So the first thing that we're offering really is instruction from two people who have done it, in some cases more than once, who have done it and are really comfortable sharing their experiences. Um, Whether you are early in the planning or you're ready to make the move, you're going to have more success and a better plan as you work on your goals, because we'll help you with that. We have planned to include an expat life vision session, so you can actually think through what you want your dream destination to feel like for you. We do have personalized planning that will be available, setting realistic goals and decision making. Um, Patricia is going to do a hot seat coaching segment, which
Yeah.
is which is not for everybody. But then, we're limited at how many people we can have at this. We're going to talk about how to create an expat scouting trip. That if you've never done that, maybe you've gone on vacation, but an expat scouting trip is different because you are looking at things from a could I live here perspective. And then we're also really clear that we want to build community. So this is going to be your support community going forward. We'll also give you a workbook that will give you the artifacts you need, and triggers that you need to remind you of your goal and your experiences. And I like to think of this as like your photo album of a trip, but the workbook itself is basically your memories from the workshop and tools to help you reach your particular dream. And then the other thing is, we are, um, really, through our experiences and working with other people, we're really trying to give you the best path forward for your expat experience, regardless of what that looks like. So, Patricia, what else are we offering?
Well, as I mentioned, the opportunity to connect in person. We can do a lot online, and we have, we're resilient, after COVID. However, there is nothing like actually, being in the same room with people who want to do the same things that you want to do, and, making those connections, and maybe, walking away from that event with a phone number of somebody who could help you with accountability, to have an accountability partner, really engaging. I know when I have gone to conferences, in-person conferences, it was a really transformational experience, in the fact that I met people who thought differently from me, and who were able to maybe help me think differently so that I could move forward with my business, or whatever the event was. And so having that experience, being around like-minded people in person and truly connecting is priceless. The next thing that you get when you register for this event is you get a free digital download of my second book, which is called Live a Bold Life, Your 30-Day Mission to a Fearless Future. And this book is interactive. It is 30 days, a challenge that lasts 30 days. And at the end of each chapter, you create your own personal intuitive affirmation that helps to build your self-confidence, helps to shift your self-identity, so that you are able to do things that are scary or that you didn't believe were possible. And so that is another item that is a part of this workshop. But there's still more, Christopher.
Well, I mean, since you're going to be here in Valencia, I've got a few tips. One of the things that I'm putting together, is basically a short list of things that you can do while you're here in the city. And yeah, you can read a tour guide and do some things. I'm going to give you the underground. I've got some places that you definitely don't want to miss if you're here, even for a short period of time. And we we want to celebrate, the idea of being in a new place and having a new experience like this workshop. So one of the things that we will be doing is, giving you a guide to Valencia, like an insider's guide, that I think will be very useful for you, and give you more perspective about what it's like to live as an expat, as a local. And maybe those things aren't listed in the tour guides, but they can be super rewarding experiences that truly transform how you feel about living abroad. And then, of course, I mean, let's face it, you get to meet the two of us in person, and we're pretty wonderful, if I do say so myself. Um, we are so excited to offer this, and to meet y'all in person as well, because that's where the kind of magic of connection happens. So I've got two more features to this event, and I'm going to let Patricia tell you about those.
All right. Well, so creating amazing memories, right? So we're going to have this experience to learn and move forward in making your move abroad. But we're going to have the opportunity to have lunch together, to have drinks afterwards, to you're going to be in Valencia. I have never been. I can't wait to get there and see. So I need that guide. Hook me up, right?
You'll
um,
probably get a copy. I'm pretty certain.
I hope so. I hope so. So, and I think there's nothing like going someplace and learning, but then also being in a different environment and enjoying that environment. And so you're going to be walking away with amazing memories that will last a lifetime. You'll also get the opportunity to meet me and Christopher in person, right? I mean, who doesn't want that, right? So, and then finally, the last thing that you will walk away with when you sign up for this is the continuing communications, so that for accountability and for future potential experiences, either online or in person. And so that is also included. And I know Christopher is just overjoyed with this workshop, as am I. If you are excited about coming to Valencia, participating in this workshop, type excited in the chat. All right. So you might be saying, that all sounds amazing, but how do I get in?
Well, I've got an answer for you. First off, this is going to happen in Valencia on October 13th. So that is 60 days, Patricia, you said? 60 days from today?
Yeah, we're August 13th. Coming
It's going to
up.
go it's going to go from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. We'll have a break for lunch, and then we'll also have a chance to meet after dinner. And where you can go to get more information about this is cleverexpat.com/workshop. And Patricia, I don't know if you can paste that in the
Yeah, I can put
chat.
that in the chat. Yeah, and I can put it up on the screen as well.
So there are a number of things that you get when you enroll. You get the personalized instruction, you get the workbook, you get a connection with other like-minded people, the free download of Patricia's book, Live a Bold Life, which I have to recommend. It's a great book and really makes you think. You'll also get the Valencia destination guide, and then you also can get communications for accountability out of all of this as well. So we don't plan on just like having this workshop and leaving you hanging. No. We definitely plan on extending this through our own communications with you. Now, you may have a question, and I know Dee has this question. The price for this is $297, and that's US American. However, if you sign up before September 1st and you use a code EARLYBIRD100, the investment is only $197. We're giving you a full $100 discount off the full price. And we're super excited about that because we both have participated in workshops that were much more expensive and didn't offer nearly as much as we know that we're offering for this particular event. So that's kind of our plan. And all of that, by the way, is listed on this website, cleverexpat.com workshop. And you can read that, read through it, and all of these benefits are also listed there, and you can sign up there. So
Yes.
I think that I think that we have built it up enough, but what questions do y'all have? And Patricia, what other things do we want to cover?
Yeah, well, I just want to emphasize that if you struggle with not knowing where to start, that overwhelm, I want to do this thing, but where in the world do I start? If you feel like you don't have a clear vision of what your life will look and feel like, and that's kind of causing you some pause. If you feel like you don't have the tools or the support that you need to make this happen, and you're tired of just thinking about it and dreaming about it, and you need something that's going to get you to the next level. If you are feeling defeated and uncertain about the possibilities, and if you like the belief that making this happen, this expat lifestyle happen, for you, and that's causing you to feel unhappy, and you're ready to change that, then this workshop is created just for you. And so check out the website, cleverexpat.com/workshop. Look at those details, register. There is limited space. There are 20 spots available. We've already filled up 10. So, and that early bird discount goes away after August 31st. So if you want to save $100 on the registration, sign up now. All right. So I don't see any questions here. Do you have any final thoughts, Christopher?
Well, I really feel like this has been a great conversation, and I don't think it's going to be our last conversation like this as well. We are, as I said before, we're both passionate about helping people achieve their expat dreams. We've both been kind of in this for a while. We both know how difficult it is to fully embrace a new lifestyle abroad. We also know that the rewards are truly incredible. And so that's why we created this day together. Um, One thing that I would like to say is if you're planning on moving abroad, regardless of your situation, the time together on October 13th is really going to motivate you, save you time, money, and energy. The big three for me, and give you a supportive community to achieve your expat goals. And we're excited to see you there.
Yes, I can't wait to see you there. If there are no questions about anything that we've covered or the workshop, can you put the website in the chat? It should be there. I can put it there again. Oops.
Oh, and honestly, my website is cleverexpat.com, but the list of places to stay for the workshop. So we're going to be holding the workshop in a hotel, and all of that is on the webpage, and you can stay there. So really, you just have to walk downstairs. But as far as getting to and from the airport goes, I will walk you through that. I'll make sure that you have that information. That's going to be part of the registration information for our people who attend. They'll get more details on how to do all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. But yes, it's going to be, what is it? The Senator Park
Yep.
National Hotel. So,
Yes.
yeah, so excited about that venue as well. It's a beautiful hotel. I understand. I've not been yet.
And it's right near an area called Rusafa, and Rusafa is loaded with all kinds of restaurants and so much more, without a doubt.
Yeah.
France bound. You say you wish you could go, but you're already arriving to Nice the weekend before.
Yeah.
Well, stay tuned because this is not going to be the last time we do this, and we don't know where we're going to do it next.
Right.
But we definitely want to provide an opportunity for people to travel abroad and then experience something that might help them live abroad.
Right. And France bound is going to France to live there. So she's
Yes.
making the leap.
Yeah,
Yes. All right.
absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank everybody who joined us live and who's participated in this live. And if you are watching from the future, thank you for watching the replay. If you have questions, after you go to the website, feel free to reach out to me or Christopher. And you can reach out to me. I should have put this in the chat as well. You can send questions to me at hello@thecourage. Can't do two things at one time. thecouragecatalyst.com. And Christopher, if they have questions they want to ask you, how can they reach you?
Absolutely. It's cleverexpat@gmail.com.
cleverexpat@gmail.com.
Dion Marie, thank you very much.
Yeah, you make a great team. I got to show that. We make a great team. Thank you, Dion.
You may not have noticed, but we like each other.
Yes, yes.
We're good friends.
All right. Well, once again, thank you everybody for joining. And I look forward to seeing some of you in Valencia. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.